So today we're going to have with us Glauber from Turso. He's the CEO of Turso. And Turso, if you're not familiar, is a edge-based SQLite that is fantastic. Just so that everybody knows, you sponsor this platform. You are one of my
very proudly.
One of my two sponsors I have, Kinesis and you. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. There
Very
we go.
proudly.
And I want to make sure I say that just because I don't want anyone to feel like they're getting bamboozled or anything like that. Because
I get it.
Okay, so you're here for a very specific reason.
I am.
This is a very special week for Turso.
It is. It's our launch week, our second launch week.
You want to give us the breakdown?
Let's do it. So we try to do, first of all, like launch weeks every 6 months, more or less. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But essentially, it's a way to pack a bunch of cool stuff together in the same week instead of releasing them piecemeal. Last time we did something super special, and we had a limit of 3 databases in our free tier. So somebody could join the free tier and create 3 databases for free. And we increased that to 500 because why the fuck not? Right? Yeah. And then people, although I curse, maybe I shouldn't, but and free tier, I actually wanted to call our free tier back then the Planet Scaler, but our VP of marketing was against it. He's like the adult in the room in this company. So we just called it the starter plan.
It's actually really good you didn't do that because then you could potentially be related to. People would think maybe the Planet Scaler got, became unfree.
But we do have, by the way, we do have a discount code now called Turso Forever for the people who are coming from Planet Scale. You want to try Turso, you go to turso.tech/Turso Forever. And that one I want. But anyway, just... On our scalar plan, people can create like 10,000 databases. I'll give them some time to recuperate.
For those that don't know, for those that aren't getting the joke, it's Planet Scale Forever was the infamous memo in which said, "Hey, we're laying off people, and there's no more free plan." So Turso Forever is obviously the tongue in cheek.
To go outside in the sun,
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
Sorry, there was an alert. I just realized I still have alerts on. Welcome to Costco. Love you, James. Appreciate that. Anyways.
Nothing's forever. Nothing's forever is actually a pretty deep thought in there.
Does that mean that nothing is forever?
I guess. We'll see. I mean, I'll die one day. I hope. I don't know. SQLite is kind of forever. You're right there. I mean, it gets close to JavaScript is forever, unfortunately. But be it as it may, like immediately after we launched that, people started asking us, look, what do I do with this? It's like too many databases and questions started to arise. I mean, database migrations are a pain in the butt. And now you want me to do 10,000 of them, right? So you want me to do 1 million of them? How do I do this? And what we try to tell people at the time is essentially like, look, not all use cases require you to have a database migration happening at all those databases at the same time. Case in point, you had last week here in the stream, I understand, or 2 weeks ago, our great friend Fred from Astro.
Yep.
So what Astro is doing is they built on top of Turso something. It was actually Firebase, but we're saying Turso, just for the lows. But they built on top of Firebase/Turso this offering called Astro GB. That you essentially, every Astro user can now get a bunch of SQLite databases. So those databases are independent because they're giving them to their users. They don't have to have the same schema. But look, you're right. For lots of the use cases where you are just keeping data segregated, is like we hear sometimes people saying, "Hey, I have a healthcare company. I have patient data. I don't want patient A knowing what patient B has, and I don't want to build all the security around it. Just give them an independent database." That's great. Now, those databases would have the same schema. So what we did for this launch week was essentially a way to make it a little bit easier to change the schema of however many databases you have at the same time. And I was wondering if we could just play with it a little bit. I mean, I'll let you drive and I'll guide you through it, but we can show the audience how it works.
First up, we do have to correct one record. The Firebase joke is largely it's gone so far out that now people think it's Firebase. It's the problem. It's the problem of like those type of jokes is that people is that the in crowd thinks it's funny, but there's always 10x more out crowd than there is in crowd. So yes,
and you know what's worse? The worst part about this joke is that we were not even the ones who started. Like somebody,
because it wasn't a joke to begin with. People are like, Firebase, I can't believe Astro's doing this.
No, I don't know if it's the CEO or the CTO of Sentry. I don't know if he knew it was Turso, but he very clearly knew it was not Firebase. And then he just tweeted, "I can't believe Astro just robbed Firebase." And we found it funny, so we started but you're absolutely right. I mean, AstroDB is built on Turso. They got their blogs, and again, it's all in their blog. They take advantage of this fact that we just give everybody like a epic number of databases, but those databases don't have the same schema. And today in our launch week, we're bringing a solution for those use cases where the databases have the same schema.
Most excellent. Okay, do you have any do we have like a sweet demo or something you want to show?
I can show my screen. I was hoping I would just guide you through it because it's always funnier.
Okay, you can guide me through it. All right, yeah. If you want, if we got something quick, you can kind of give me a quickie quick on. Then yeah. All right, here we go. I'm in. Do I need to make a directory of some sort? What do you want me to do?
You have your Turso CLI installed, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have Turso ready.
And it's working, and it's super awesome. So what you're going to do is we're going to create a new database. Okay. And usually when you create a new database, you just do Turso. Don't type enter yet, but you just do Turso db create and the name of the database, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So if this would just create you a new database, but now we're going to do something different. We're going to do --type, and then the type's going to be schema.
All right, schema. There we go, like that.
The schema. There you go. That's the correct.
We're creating a schema database.
That's great. And you got it right. So what you've done now is that you created a database that is special. That database is called the schema database, and every change that is made to the schema of that schema database is going to be propagated to all databases that inherit the same schema. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this grouping and say, hey, we can call it like this. This is the parent database. Now we're going to create a bunch of, we can create like 2 or 3 children database that inherit the schema from the parent. And every change you make to the parent, you're going to see they're all propagated to all of those databases. Again, one command, one round trip, super awesome.
Interesting.
So now when you look at, we can do it both ways.
Quick question.
Yeah,
I have a quick. When you make a change to the schema, you may have to do some sort of like migration step or something like that. Mm-hmm. Do you have some sort of way you can inject like how it should migrate? And then second, are the migration, do they just happen all at once, or does it happen upon first use?
No. So answering your first question first. So yes, most of the time you're doing a migration, but this is just the beauty of the database, of the schema type database, is that it behaves to you as if you were just a database. So you do whatever you would do in a database. You can actually connect to this database. In fact, let's do it right now. You can do Turso DB shell and connect to that database.
And then do foo, right?
Yeah, there you go. And you can do whatever you want there. Like you can create
I don't have anything to describe.
Table. Yeah.
Oh, you can't control C right there? Okay, anyways.
Yeah. You can do create table. Yeah. If you do dot schema, you will see that it's empty.
A dot schema. Yeah, it's empty. Okay. And then I always forget the syntax. So you have to remind me. Create table. And then what?
Create table.
Parenthesis.
Whatever you want for Imogen. Yeah. Oh. No. First the name of the table.
All right. We'll call it.
In your defense, I forget that all the time as well, man.
I these ones are the ones you do rarely, and then I forget every single time. And then I think it's parentheses, and it's like name,
parentheses,
type,
and
name,
the name
type.
of the columns. Yeah, name.
So
type,
then it goes. We'll just go foo bar foo. Then it's comma bar comma baz, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then closing parentheses.
And in SQLite, inspired by JavaScript, you don't actually have to do any types. The types are optional. So you're essentially creating 3 text columns when you do this. You're all good.
Okay, and then how do I make it go? There we go. Awesome. Yeah, that's right. Semicolons. I always forget every single time. Semicolons are the go-to.
Every single time.
Yeah, there we go. All right. I spent like 15 minutes.
Look, semicolons, Prime.
Yeah. I know.
If it's good for C, it's good for you.
The name. You can't argue with that one. Can't argue. Hey, no, like really, when I was playing with SQLC, one of my biggest problems is I just didn't have a semicolon. I kept having these weird errors, and I'm just like, I don't understand why I'm having. And it's just like, oh dang, I always. Yep. Do that. I forget. Always. You know, I've got so used to Go and Rust and sometimes JavaScript, and now look at me. Now I can't remember them at all.
There you go, man. There's
Okay.
hope for you. It's okay.
There is hope. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
All right, so we have table foo-foo right here.
There you go. So now, when if you create a new database, you're going to pass
let me
a
jump out.
parameter. Yeah.
Turso db create. All right, and let's go like this. Let's call this bar. Bar will be my implementation. Foo is my schema.
There you go. Now you're going to pass dash dash schema.
Schema foo.
Schema foo.
All right, so then I can go db, or I can go Turso db shell bar. Should we log into bar?
There you go. You do, yeah.
All right, I want to see this. Now I can go schema, right?
There you go, yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So the same table you created in the full schema database is now created in the bar database. And you can keep creating databases that point to the schema. Again, you don't have to do this for all of your databases. You pick and choose which databases will share the schema. If you create a database now without passing dash dash schema, it's going to be empty.
Yep. We'll drop that and we'll do Baz. There we go. And we will db or Turso db shell Baz dot schema. And there you go. Nothing. Nice. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty neat. Okay, so can I make a quick change to foo? How do I walk me through a quick change here? Where are you? Shell foo.
Log it. Yeah.
All right, I'm in foo.
Create another table. Just create another table. Just create.
Oh, please
table.
Oh yeah, look at that. It has this. Foo another. We'll just call it another table. There we go. Do you use? Is it underscoring? Do we use underscores or do you use camel case for naming?
Whatever your heart desire, man. We are.
That's not how programming works. Okay, there's a right and wrong answer, even on opinions.
Absolutely.
Even on stylistic opinion choices. 1, 2. There we go. Bam. Okay, so we created another table. Fantastic. So now I'm going to Turso back into bar, right? If I go schema, is it because I logged in and therefore or because since I created a connection to bar, it upgraded it and created this second table?
No, I mean right away, like nothing is instant, right? So there is speed of light and shit like that. So what happens is that you will have a period, and most smart people understand, like the way you do database migrations is that you create you can create like a new column and then you move data and etc. There is going to be a period of time in which the migration is still happening, right?
Yeah.
So you will have this as well. Like as soon as in this case, it's only one database. It's all good. It's quick. As soon as you created the change in the full schema database, this is going to be propagated to all databases. Now, it's not going to finish immediately, but you're going to have the guarantee that if there is a problem, those things are going to be rolled back, right? So all of the databases are going to be updated or none of them. So it's transactional. We keep a log of like which databases are done, which databases are not done. So you can go and roll back.
That's super cool. So you can Well, hey, I really like that. That's actually pretty dang sweet. You don't have to do a bash loop with 500,000 databases in it. So this makes
you had until last week.
You had until last week. So it's a transactional database migration, and it's kind of provided as part of the infrastructure with this whole schema table fooing. And so this would make the idea of having a multi-tenant database easier. Meaning multi-tenant, meaning a per user database.
Yeah.
If you have these like smaller databases, like say I'm making Vim APM and I want to keep all of your motions in your own database. That means I will be sorry. TJ is just saying the stupidest things on the internet. That means I can't help but to read chat, and chat is always trying to derail me with the dumbest possible.
Well, I'm reading some questions as well, and I'll try my best to answer them later. But
But that means effectively I'll be able to just make one update, and it'll just spread as fast as possible through all of this, and be able to update each user database for say my Vim motions, and that's that.
It's actually more. I side with the people who were skeptical with the feature before we launched this, because it's more than easier. It makes it doable, right? If you don't have something like this, you can't really do database per tenant. Look, if you have 5 users, that's fine. But at the moment you have 10,000, 20,000, like managing this it's essentially impractical, right?
Yeah,
So
because if you
I
have
view this as
any
a lot
errors
more
and you
than
don't have rolling back, you just have this like disaster that's happening. You're just like, which 1,000 databases are incorrect versus the other million that are correct? Okay.
Yeah, so for us, this is more than just like a quality of life, make it easier kind of thing. Like we're trying to make this pattern like workable.
Nice.
Which is a pattern that a lot of people did with SQLite for the longest time, by the way. Like I keep hearing about people doing this. I mean, even before Turso, SQLite is just so easy to create databases because they're just a file. Then people just create a bunch of files, but you have those kinds of problems, right? Now, how do I iterate on those files? And one of the things that we want to do with Turso is exactly that. Like, how do you get the good things about SQLite that people have been doing since forever, and build the tooling around it and make the changes required in the core database to support it when needed, so you can bring these patterns to prime time. Pun intended.
Pun intended. Nice. Very cool. And then you okay, first off, I like this scheme. I'm going to have to play around with it and try to, I want to understand like how to write, any sort of migration scripts, any way to be able to copy over data, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I assume you have that all documented out and everything's absolutely fantastic.
And
right?
we are marking this feature as beta because again, we just released. And
because it's weak?
Well, no, because it's beta, because we're
Soft?
beta, I guess, in a sense, for just a software. Because it may break. I mean, we are aware of some limitations and we are aware of some stuff that doesn't work. So we just prefer to like release it as beta than not releasing it all. And we're going to be working to solve some of those corner cases. And databases are full of corner cases. It's essentially
databases is one giant corner case.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's working decently well already, and it's in a pretty good spot.
Is libsqueal? By the way, someone's asking: is libsqueal still single thread write?
Yes.
Is that why is that why user per database is speedy?
So honestly, if you're doing this, if you're just creating like many databases as a way to go around the limitation of single thread write, you should be asking yourself, I mean, is this really the right tool, right? Because tools have their sometimes, even though I'm here, like I'm the CEO and founder, etc., I'm not going to be saying that our database is the best for every single use case. If you have lots and lots of writes, and by that I mean like hundreds of thousands a second, it's probably not the best tool for you. I think this pattern has other advantages, and then we try to do those migration things to accommodate for those use cases where, look, I want the data to be segregated, but how do I handle those migrations? How do I handle like cross database queries is another thing that we're doing. I don't think we're not going to demonstrate here today, but we also allowing you to do cross database queries. So you get two databases together and you do a join across them. So
nice.
Turso is well-based, yes.
100K writes a second isn't necessary for usual cases. Well, it's not even like the, I mean, you gotta remember that when you're in that, when you're at that level, you're at the very, very edge of most companies. Most companies aren't running at 100K writes a second.
Well, some do, but then again, like those are the companies that should be looking into other solutions. Right?
Yeah. Edging confirmed. Absolutely. All right, so you have some other launches this week besides so you have some multi-tenant management. What else you got?
So today we're launching some new improvements to embedded replicas. Embedded replicas are a way to replicate your Turso database whatever you want. So you can replicate this inside your server. You can replicate on a mobile device. You can replicate essentially whatever you can think of. And we're bringing some improvements to embedded replicas. My favorite of them is that we're going to allow that file, that embedded replica that gets to your server device, whatever, to be encrypted at rest. So it's essentially a security feature, super nice. Now you can replicate even to hostile environments if you want, like a user mobile or whatnot, because you have the encryption key and you hold that encryption key. I don't hold that encryption key, so it's a security feature. We're going to be announcing a new plan as well on Wednesday. And then for other features, look, just stay tuned on Twitter or X. That's where we're doing most of our announcements at Turso Database. Most, if not all, of the announcements are going to be centered around this idea of like running production workloads with Turso and SQLite, libsql, running more and more complicated use cases. Either all the features are either enabling some pattern like that, like we just described today, or encryption, compliance, other clouds and stuff like that.
Nice. Okay, that's pretty dang cool. I like that. The embedded replica one, that one's from last. You've had this one for a while now. People don't I think the mobile one. I think that's a huge, awesome case. I even think I think Warren is in here. Warren Buffering. I think he even has put a little bit of eyeballs on this whole local, this mobile first squeal light approach, which is I think it's really cool, really cool for mobile because there's so much stuff you just simply read. And when you write, just being able to write through out to a remote database and then just always having that microsecond read just makes it feel makes mobile apps feel creamy smooth. I like it.
Yeah. And again, like one of the things that we heard from many people is I would love to do this. But then again, now I'm putting the data out in the open. Whoever, I may not feel comfortable doing this. And now we brought encryption at rest, right?
Yeah. And so that's going to solve that problem as well. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Is there any performance penalties for encryption at rest? I mean, I assume there has to be some minimal amount, right? Yeah. But is it enough to be annoying, or is it pretty neat?
It's pretty neat because we don't encrypt the whole file. Actually, doing that is easy. Like encrypting the whole SQLite file, everybody can do that, right? It's just a file, encrypt the file, good to go. What we do is that we encrypt the pages individually. And again, that's one of the reasons why we felt like we had to fork SQLite to do those kind of things. Because how else are you going to be able to do this, right? It's very complicated. You need an extension mechanism. There are ways to do it. Sometimes you have to work around issues, and you know that the right way to technically solve the problem is one way, but you can't do it that way because SQLite doesn't expose the hook right there.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the advantages of having forked. But every page is encrypted individually, right? So,
okay.
So
you decrypt on read.
You never
and stuff
have
like
to.
That.
Yeah, exactly. You never have to decrypt the whole file and then be worried about, I have a 20 gigabyte file. What do I do with that? It doesn't matter because all the pages are encrypted individually.
How can we invest in Turso?
You can use US dollars. Talk to me. I don't know.
You like money? Do you like money?
I like.
Oh, someone actually had a good question. So a replica is a local copy of the DB. Do the writes go directly there, or does it go to remote first? And then if you have this migration, this schema, how does that work with mobile? Because now I have this embedded replica on my mobile device. How do I get the new schema update?
Great question. So when you're using embedded replicas, all the writes go to the primary. And this is something that we want to change in the future. Not change as in this doesn't work well, but allow, there are some use cases that would prefer that the writes happen locally at first to be fully offline. What we have now is the ability to always do offline reads, but we don't support offline writes. And this is going to still be the case for a couple of months, and we're working on enabling offline writes as well. But until we do, all the writes always go to the primary. So you have to be connected to the database to be able to write. One of the things that we are announcing today, by the way, is changing the consistency guarantee. So the consistency guarantee that you have now is a consistency guarantee called read your own writes. What that means is that if you write locally, the write's going to go to the remote, but it's not going to come back to you until all the changes come back as well. So you can always see the writes. You never get into the situation where, look, I wrote something, now I read right after, and the data is not there. So with the announcement today, we are making Turso embedded replicas, read your own writes guarantee. You always have that. And
nice.
Every second, what we showed you when we were here last time, you had to go and call sync manually. You had to put a background thread, and now we're doing this for you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't need to do this anymore, which is another change that we're announcing today. You just set a period. So you say, for example, every second, every 500 milliseconds, every hour, however it fits your use case, that sync automatically happens, right? And when that sync happens, you get all the changes that happen to the primary database into your embedded replica, including schema changes. So if you change the schema on the primary, the schema will eventually be reflected in the replica as well.
Okay, nice. And is there so? I mean, I'm just thinking as a mobile-headed person, if I have a version of my application that does not require a forced update, but I have made a change to the schema table, how do I have multiple versions like that? Like, is there a way to prevent the schema updating? Because that's kind of just where my head goes right away with mobile, which is like I have version A and then I pushed version B, which contains a schema change, but they don't upgrade to version B. Do I need to have forced updates on the user, or can they maintain both states?
No, you have to write your code in a way that can handle both states, right? So usually the way that we recommend handling migrations is always this: never make migrations, for example, that change the schema. You're always adding to the schema. because that way you don't have that problem. Right? So if your client is still reading a set of columns and you don't rename a column to another one, you add a column, you don't have that problem. But this is a problem that usually best practices have to be used to handle that case.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that will be a difficult. That will be a difficult. First off, that's just a hard problem, no matter what you're using. That's a very, very hard problem.
You know who did very well. You know who handled this problem very, very well. Like credit where credit's due. PlanetScale. They're fantastic at that. Like one of the things that put them on the map is exactly how they did migrations, following a Git workflow. They were forcing this idea on you. And sometimes it feels like I don't want anything forced on me, but sometimes it's good. Like they were forcing this idea on you that like, this is how you do migrations. You don't change stuff, you add stuff, and then you remove stuff later when all the clients are updated, etc.
Nice. Okay, this is very cool. So big week. What's your cadence for launching these launch weeks? Do you have any sort of cadence to this?
More or less every 6 months, but nothing happens if we don't. I mean, sometimes 5, sometimes 7. We don't.
Do you think you'll ever just get to the point where you're just releasing features as, just like a steady line of features, or will it always be more in these kind of bigger?
No, we do that too. We do that too. Like it's not that outside of launch weeks we release nothing. Is that like on the launch week is we try to plan things so that like a lot of big features are ready at the same time, and then you can use that week to release a bunch of stuff together. It works pretty well.
Okay. This is awesome. I am very excited. I think Turso is very fantastic. And hopefully my entire week during Brazil time, I'll be working on per-user authentication, Turso databasing, and all that fun stuff. That's my goal for streaming in Brazil.
Yeah, and a reminder for people in the chat, especially the ones in Brazil. The ones who are not in Brazil can always travel there and get there. If you build an application with Turso or Asion or partner, or both, why not? You can get the chance to meet the man in person.
Yep. And I will judge your application.
He will judge it.
I will judge it thoroughly.
We'll be announcing more details, hopefully at the beginning of next week, but that's going to be amazing.